Let's tell the truth here. Most of us have spent more time than we care to admit trying to measure up. We scroll, we compare, we shrink, we tell ourselves stories about how we're falling behind, how someone else has it figured out, and how we're just not enough. But here's the thing, comparison isn't just exhausting, it disconnects us from our own story, our own truth, and our own worth. Learned that when we focus on others, on their progress, their opinions, their highlight reels, we lose sight of what we actually want. We start chasing someone else's version of success, and somewhere along the way, we forget that we were never supposed to be them. We were always supposed to be us. You are not behind, you are not too late, you are not broken, you are becoming. In your own time, on your own terms, and that starts with tuning out the noise and turning inward, with asking what matters to me. Not what looks good, not what will keep people comfortable, but what feels true. That kind of focus takes courage. It's easier to perform than to be present. It's easier to chase applause than to cultivate peace. But self-focus, real self-focus, is not selfish. It's sacred. It's how we come home to ourselves. When you stop chasing validation, you start building self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of everything good. Boundaries, resilience, joy, rest, love. We can't create lives that are meaningful if we're constantly outsourcing our worth. Let's pause here and name something we all wrestle with. Comparison. It doesn't knock on the door politely. It barges in uninvited, armed with someone else's success, someone else's beauty, someone else's perfectly curated life. And just like that, we start to shrink. Our joy gets quieter. Our confidence becomes shaky. Our own journey, which might have felt beautiful and enough just a moment ago, suddenly feels small and inadequate. Comparison doesn't motivate us, it manipulates us. It convinces us that our worth is conditional, that it depends on where we stand next to someone else, that their light somehow dims ours, that if they're ahead, we must be behind. But that's not truth, that's fear talking. And here's the real cost. Every time we compare ourselves to others, we trade authenticity for approval. We abandon who we are in the hope of becoming who we think we should be. We mute our voices, question our paths, and forget that we're allowed to be a work in progress. We try on lives that don't fit us and wonder why we feel like we're suffocating. Authenticity can't breathe in the presence of constant comparison. It needs room for imperfection, room for individuality, room for honesty. It requires that we show up fully as ourselves, not as a mirror of someone else's highlight reel. When we stop comparing, we begin to return to ourselves. We remember that our story matters, not because it's flashy or flawless, but because it's real, because it's ours. And that's the kind of joy that lasts. Not the kind we get from applause, but the kind that comes from being aligned with who we truly are. So the next time comparison shows up with its clipboard and scoreboard, let's recognize it for what it is, a distraction from our own magic, a thief. And then gently but firmly choose to focus on our own lane, our own pace, our own, because joy lives there. And so does freedom. You're in your own timeline. We live in a world obsessed with timelines. By 25, you should have this. By 30, you should be that. By 40, you better have it all figured out. And if you don't, well, it's easy to feel like you're falling behind in a race you never signed up for. But here's the truth. You are not behind. You're on your own timeline. Life isn't linear, growth isn't predictable, healing doesn't come with a calendar, and joy doesn't only show up for the people who check the boxes on time. It's so easy to look around and feel like you missed something, like you should have gotten there already, like you're late to your own life, but we forget the path we're on isn't broken. It's just ours. And that means it's going to look different. It's supposed to. We don't all bloom at the same time. Some of us take a little longer to trust, to heal, to figure out what matters. Some of us need detours. Some of us need to sit down for a while before we can keep walking. That doesn't mean we're failing. It means we're human. The idea of behind only exists when we measure ourselves against someone else's story. But your story, it's sacred. And it's unfolding in ways you can't always see yet. Just because it's not happening now doesn't mean it won't. And just because it doesn't look like theirs doesn't mean it's not worthy. Your timeline doesn't have to look impressive. It just has to feel honest. So take the pressure off. Let go of the noise that says you need to speed up, catch up, or grow up faster. You are not a project that needs to be completed. You're a person who's becoming. And becoming takes time. You are not behind. You are right on time for your life. And that is exactly where you're supposed to be. Validation from others is fleeting. Self-trust is lasting. Let's be honest, there's something so tempting, even addictive, about validation. That nod of approval, that like, that compliment, that moment where someone else says, "You're doing great." It lights us up, it makes us feel seen, it feels good, right? But the truth is that feeling doesn't last long. Validation is a quick hit. It lifts you for a second, then disappears. And the dangerous part is, if we're not paying attention, we start needing it to feel okay. We start outsourcing our worth. We start performing instead of living. Here's the catch. When we rely on the outside world to affirm our worth, we're building on shaky ground. The crowd is fickle. People change their minds. Applause fades. What they loved you for today, they might criticize tomorrow. And then what? If our self-worth is built on external approval, we're left constantly chasing, always needing more, never feeling enough. But self-trust, that's different. Self-trust is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted. It doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't seek permission. It says, I know who I am and I know what I value, even when no one's clapping. Building self-trust means learning to listen to your own voice, even when it contradicts the crowd. It means standing in your truth, especially when it would be easier to blend in. It means making decisions based on alignment, not applause. It means looking inward and saying, I choose me, even when no one else does. And yes, that kind of inner trust takes time. It takes boundaries. It takes messing up and still showing up. It's built through courage and consistency, not perfection. But when you build that trust with yourself, it changes everything. Because now you're not tossed around by every opinion. You're not waiting for others to validate your worth. You're rooted in it. You're grounded, whole, free. So let them cheer or don't. Let them approve or not. That's not where your peace lives anyway. Because when you stop chasing validation and start building self-trust, you don't just find confidence, you find home in yourself. Focusing inward is not selfish, it's sacred. Somewhere along the way, many of us were taught that putting ourselves first is selfish, that taking time to check in with our hearts, to honor our boundaries, to care deeply for our own well-being is somehow self-centered. We were told that good people are always available, always giving, always showing up for others, even when it costs them their peace. But let's get honest. What kind of love are we offering the world if it's coming from a place of depletion? What kind of presence can we bring if we've been absent from our own lives? Focusing inward isn't selfish, it's sacred. It's the act of returning to yourself, of creating a space within that isn't cluttered by the noise, the expectations, or the endless demands from the outside world. It's choosing to listen, not to prove anything to anyone, but to understand what you need, what you believe, and what you want your life to stand for. When we focus inward, we're not turning our backs on others. We're grounding ourselves so we can show up more fully, more honestly, more sustainably. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And you were never meant to be a never-ending source of output. You are a human being, not a human resource. This inner focus is where clarity lives. It's where we uncover the quiet whispers of our intuition. It's where we remember what actually matters. Not what looks good, not what earns applause, but what feels aligned. And when we live from that place, our relationships deepen, our decisions sharpen, our capacity to love expands. It's not selfish to rest. It's not selfish to say no. It's not selfish to spend time healing, reflecting, creating, or simply being. That's sacred work. That's soul work. That's the kind of work that doesn't get seen on the surface, but transforms everything underneath. So if the world tells you to hustle, to prove, to keep everyone else comfortable at the expense of your own truth, pause, breathe, and come home to yourself. You are not selfish for focusing inward. You are brave, you are wise, you are tending to something whole. Let me know if you'd like the next one. Healing starts when we stop performing and start belonging to ourselves. Healing starts when we stop performing and start belonging to ourselves. So let's tell the truth. Most of us learned how to perform long before we learned how to be. We learned how to smile when we were breaking inside. We learned how to be agreeable when we wanted to scream. We learned how to play roles, the achiever, the helper, the strong one, the one who has it all together. Performance became survival. It was how we earned love, how we stayed safe, how we avoided rejection. But somewhere along the way, the mask became heavy. The act stopped feeling like protection and started feeling like a prison. And even though the world may have applauded who we pretended to be, deep down we knew something was missing. That's where the healing begins. Healing doesn't start when life gets perfect. Healing begins when we stop performing and start belonging to ourselves. And that's a radical shift. Because belonging to yourself means showing up as you are, not who others want you to be. It means telling the truth, even when it makes people uncomfortable. It means loving the parts of you that we're taught to hide. It's in that brave return to your own heart that things begin to soften. When you stop performing, you stop hustling for worthiness. You start realizing you've been worthy all along. You stop editing yourself for approval and start embracing yourself for truth. You begin to take off the layers of should and supposed to, and what's left underneath isn't lacking, it's liberated. And sure, belonging to yourself is messy. It means making choices that others won't always understand. Means letting go of applause and choosing alignment instead. But it also means peace, it means freedom, it means finally coming home. Because there's nothing more healing than being fully seen and fully loved, first and foremost, by yourself. So if you're tired of performing, if you're exhausted from keeping it all together, hear this. You don't have to earn rest. You don't have to audition for acceptance. You don't have to wear a mask to be loved. You are allowed to belong to yourself fully, unapologetically, tenderly. And that right there is where healing truly begins. Ready for the last one? When we focus on ourselves, we give others permission to do the same. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that our actions are isolated, that what we do or don't do only impacts us. But the truth is, we are all deeply connected. Our energy, our choices, our presence, and even our silence ripple out into the world. They influence the spaces we occupy, the people we love, and the lives we touch. And often, without realizing it, we give others the message of how to live by the way we choose to live. So when we focus on ourselves, when we take the time to nurture our hearts, our bodies, and our minds, we're not being selfish. We are, in fact, modeling the kind of self-respect and self-care that others need to see. When we prioritize our needs, we are showing the world that it's okay to do the same. When we focus on ourselves, we give others permission to do the same. Think about it. How many times have you felt guilty for taking a break, for saying no, for carving out time to just be with yourself? How many times have you worried that focusing on your own needs would make you appear self-centered, or worse, that it might disappoint someone else? We've all been there, living with the constant pressure of putting everyone else first. But what if, instead of depleting ourselves for the sake of others, we showed up fully for ourselves? What if we let ourselves heal, rest, grow, and take up space just for the sake of being, not because of what we can give to anyone else? When we do that, we give others permission to do the same. We give them the example of what it looks like to choose yourself, guilt-free, shame-free, and without apology. By prioritizing our own well-being, we create a ripple effect. Others start to see that it's possible to stop the relentless cycle of overgiving and start focusing on what nourishes them. We open up space for vulnerability and authenticity. We invite others to take their masks off, to stop performing, and to begin living their truth. And here's the most beautiful part. The more we focus on ourselves, the more we are able to show up for others in a real, grounded way. When we tend to our own needs first, we don't drain ourselves, we fill up. We have more energy, more love, more compassion to give from a place of abundance, not obligation. By doing the deep work of self-care and self-connection, we teach others that it's okay to rest, to set boundaries, to trust their own instincts, and to choose peace over perfection. When we take the time to belong to ourselves, to honor ourselves, we are offering permission for others to do the same. We are telling them, you are worthy of this too. You are allowed to choose you. This is the kind of revolution that begins quietly, with one person choosing peace over pressure, wholeness over hustle. And as we each make that choice, we create a world where everyone is empowered to take up space, to live authentically, and to love themselves as they are without apology. So today, choose yourself. Show up for you. And when you do, know that you're not just giving yourself permission to exist fully. You're giving everyone around you permission to do the same. As we come to the end of this conversation, let's reflect on what we've uncovered. Each of us is worthy of love, peace, and authenticity, not because we fit a mold, not because we meet some external expectation, but because we are whole, complex, and uniquely ourselves. We've spent so much time trying to measure up, comparing ourselves to others, performing for approval, and shrinking to make others comfortable. But true freedom, true joy, true healing that comes when we stop looking outside and start looking inward. When we focus on ourselves, not from a place of selfishness, but from a place of self-respect and self-love, we begin to create lives